Microsoft is bringing Mojang's still thriving blocky survival game, Minecraft, to X Game Pass next month. The game giant's over 100 titles already included in the service, and brings with it its 91 million monthly users in the process. X Game Pass aims to use enticing games like Minecraft to lure players into subscribing to its service, which grants access to a library of downloadable titles, including new first-party releases on launch day, so long as they remain subscribed to the service. For Minecraft, the move could give a boost to the game's already sizable player base. The game itself came out as a very early build in 2009, and developer Mojang was acquired by Microsoft for $2.5 billion 6 years later. The game itself is supported through regular content updates, and, as of October 2018, had sold over 150 million copies worldwide. Following in the wake of last year's Fixpin campaign, the team at Palm Corp has published a post on Steam exploring how it typically fights back against the cheaters, and some of the different improvements planned to its anti-cheat efforts. Admittedly, the team says they will not fully outline what they have been doing, since giving away too much could undermine those very efforts. But even still, the post offers fellow game devs a look at what the team behind the landmark Battle Royale game does to combat the ever-present threat of cheating. Each game of Palm sees up to 100 users trying to beat already incredible odds, reads the post. We understand that even one person playing unfairly can severely impact the fun of so many people, and this we need to maintain a much higher level of security than other games. The PUBG team says that it uses a variety of anti-cheat protections, like Battle Royale and Cheater, to detect cheat attempts, but that they have also turned to machine learning recently to spot cheats by analyzing the behavior of individual players. They have put together a system that notices abnormal game patterns, actions that interrupt expected game processes, and identify hack users. Based on that data, they started issuing hardware bans late last year in an effort to curtail repeat cheaters. But note in the full post that the process itself can be a delicate one, and they take extra precautions to make sure PC cafe machines are not unfairly impacted. More recently, however, the team has started detecting and banning things like metro mice, and, eventually, other peripherals that the team says give people an unfair advantage over fellow open players. For a game about piloting giant mechs, it sure feels good to run around on foot in Titanfall. Well, maybe not on foot exactly, since when you are outside your Titan, you will mostly be leaping through the air and running along walls. This is a game in which you can traverse levels at fantastic speed and explore their full vertical heights, using a moveset which not only rewards skill, but is also surprisingly intuitive to grasp. And it feels great, even with a gamepad. Titanfall is a model of first-person fluidity and precision on gamepad, while also capturing a sense of your pilot's and Titan's physical body. This moveset and the sense of motion emerged from the first-person shooter greats. Both Titanfall, which was released in March 2014, and its sequel, which was released in October 2016, were built in heavily adapted versions of the Source engine, and therefore inherit the fundamental control systems of Half-Life 2. But in sculpting the game's actual feel, developer Respawn was also looking back to another classic, Halo Combat Evolved. It's still the gold standard, says senior software engineer Ray Levinson, as he began to block out the controls for the game that would become Titanfall. He had loaded up Halo, the second level, and play its first encounter over and over again, killing off all the line apart from a single grunt. Then I could dance around him and see what Bunny did, he says, noting how it deals with aim assist, and how its stable view as you walk gets across a sense of Master Chief's indomitability. The team did not adopt all Halo's lessons, by any means. For instance, Titanfall has viewbot to communicate an awareness of physical motion, but they wanted it to maintain some of Halo's steadiness. Intuiting from what they did, it seemed they had a big focus on making it so players could shoot the bad guys as easily as possible and not get motion sick. And not getting motion sick became a big part of Titanfall. Says multiplayer design led top Alderman. Motion sickness in first-person games is complex and subjective, but Respawn found that when they added a viewbot, but kept the crosshair fixed to the center of the screen, it would feel like the player character was constantly looking left, right, causing some players to feel nauseous. I think a big thing that causes motion sickness is a disconnect between what you are seeing on screen and what you are trying to do, says programmer-led software engineer John Haggerty. Any time we move the view without your input, that can cause motion sickness. Alongside these fundamentals, Respawn also started to develop Titanfall's emblematic Valorant, which takes a central part in its overall movement system, because it grants the speed boost that gives both games their kinetic emphasis. The Valorant also feels skillful to pull off, despite actually being simple to initiate. Haggerty began to develop the Valorant system by allowing players to freely walk on walls by pulling towards them, instead of having gravity pull them down. He then tested it in Half-Life 2, specifically the section just after you get the pistol, where train tracks ran through a walled channel. I was just running around that for days, messing around. He laughs. You do it a bit. Something goes wrong, so you change the code, and then you do it again, and you do it a few hundred times, and you end up with something that's reasonable. From there it was a matter of adding features like gravity, gradually pulling the player down over time and refining with designers as they implemented it in levels. To the player it's a matter of jumping into a wall, and they simply start running along it. For the game, it meant having to define between slopes and walls. Slopes are complicated, and also having it constantly track down the player for surfaces that can be ran along, disregarding such elements as the sides of steps. One change between Titanfall and Titanfall 2 was to stop players who were starting their runs near the tops of walls from falling off, because the arc took them over the top. It sounds like a simple fix, but it was a challenge since it added yet another thing for the game. You need to check out the world to now read a computationally expensive list. Part of its easy feel is down to the way Titanfall communicates what's going on, tilting the view away from the wall to indicate that you are running on it. One thing that was added and immediately made it feel much better was Alderman's suggestion to tilt the view as a player starts to jump towards a wall, but before they begin to run, allowing them to anticipate it. Encouraging players to run in the first place was another matter. People would not trust the run and press the button as quickly as they could, and they did end up jumping right off it, says Haggerty. Training people to trust the wall is hard, because it looks like you are going to fall. The solution was in level design. Whether in the first Titanfall's training sections, or in having early enforced wall running in Titanfall 2's campaign, the next problem was to give players a reason to wall run. That's funny, actually, Haggerty says. We had wall running for a while longer than it was like. Why would you wall run when you can just run around? This is where wall running's speed boost came in, an incentive that came to inform Titanfall's distinctive speed through motion design, in which by performing acrobatics players can traverse the levels at up to 30 mph, well over double a pilot's sprint speed. While running itself gives a boost, and jumping off the wall boosts still further. The slide move, achieved when the player is crouched while sprinting, also grants a small speed boost. We talked about sliding for a long time, and I was always like, oh, whatever, that's stupid, says Hafferty. I ended up doing it one day, and throwing a basic slide, and people loved it. A slide is mostly just regular ground walking movement, except you cannot stop or change the action as easily, and it gives you a little boost when you start it. It's all the same code, plus some minor tweaks. The slide is an important part of high-level play, because it allows players to chain speed-boosting moves together on open ground, and it enables slide hopping. This is bunny hopping technique that involves hitting slide while in the air after jumping, and then repeating by jumping again right after landing. Titanfall also features airstrafing, an inheritance from the Source engine, through which by steering left and right while airborne players can reach the highest speeds.